Welcome back to Community Conversations. I'm your host, Steve Mantis, and my guest today is John Rafferty, our MP for Thunder Bay, Rainy River. John, just before the break, we were talking about really you wanting to really help folks in our area and folks that need help particularly. How do you do that? And give me an example of something where you feel like you really have made a difference for a person or some people in your riding.
Well, these are certainly baby steps that you take. I think there's a little naivety when someone runs for the first time, and there'll be an all candidates meeting, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to," you hope that you're going to be able to get in there and make some changes, and but you know what, it is baby steps, and you work on those baby steps. So it's interesting when they ask someone who has been elected before, they say, "Why are you running again?" and they often answer by saying, "Well, there's so much to do." Well, there is so much to do, and there's always more to do, and because things work at a snail's pace. I can give you all kinds of examples, but let me give you a quick one because it's sort of in the news right now, and that's things to deal with veterans and veterans affairs, and
Yes.
and I'm very involved. I'm on that committee and so on. There was a big stink a little while ago about the money that has not been spent in veterans affairs.
Yes.
And it's $1.1 million over the last 5 years that has gone back to the Treasury. And yet Veterans Affairs says we don't have enough money to make sure that we can take care of veterans. And so, that figure is the one that I came up with, but it took me months and months and months because this government and actually previous governments increasingly so become less transparent.
Yes.
And so even though, it's maybe freedom of information or whatever the case may be, it takes forever. So, and as a result of that revelation and questioning the minister and the previous minister and so on, things did happen. And it remains to be seen whether replacing the minister is going to work in veterans' favor or not. But, those are the kinds of things that you can do in opposition that create an atmosphere for change and hopefully for the better. So, it's wonderful in an all candidates meeting during an election to say, I'm going to make sure that no senior lives in poverty. Well, that's exactly what I would like to do. Mm-hmm. But am I going to be able to do it? It's going to be small steps. And often what it means is if you form government, reversing what other governments have done. I'm just thinking of Mr. Harper putting the retirement age up to 67 from 65. Well, we'll certainly reverse that, and that'll be good for seniors. So there are some things you can sort of do fairly quickly, but some you can't. And you want to reform GIS for seniors. You want to make sure that there isn't one senior in this country who lives below a certain line and always has income. I've been working on seniors issues since I've been elected, and yet we still have the poorest segment of our society in Canada is still the poorest segment of our society, and that is women 65 years of age and older. Mm-hmm. They are poor, particularly if they were homemakers. They didn't pay into CPP. They don't have a pension. Their husband perhaps has passed away. It's many thousands of women, of senior women, live on the support of their children. And one of the things we should think about when we think about seniors is we should think about dignity and retirement and dignity. Women who were homemakers all their lives, they work just as hard as everybody else.
Indeed.
Why should they have a retirement, or why should they be in their golden years and have less dignity than others? And so those are the issues that you know what the answer is. You know what the answer is, but to make that happen is going to take a while. So, well, and it depends on the voters.
Yes, indeed. Interesting. Earlier this week, we presented to the Associate Minister of Finance, who's looking at the Ontario Retirement Pension Plan, and raised some of these same issues at that point. So, nice to see we're working along the same lines. We have a Facebook page for the show called Community Conversations. I reach out and ask our viewers or people that go on the net what they might like to ask you. The one question was around retirement years and was around the old age supplement, the OAS. And there was some work earlier in Parliament to reduce the number of years, I guess, residency in order
The eligibility,
to qualify.
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's, the internet's funny because things stay there forever. That person is referring to a bill by a Liberal who was defeated in 2011, Ruby Dalla from Mississauga. I think she's from Mississauga, somewhere in southern Ontario. And she introduced a bill to reduce the eligibility, I think, to 3 years. And so and that was purely a political move because she has a lot of immigrants, recent immigrants, elderly immigrants in her riding. And so that's a politically good bill to put forward to reduce the waiting time for eligibility. Now, that bill didn't go anywhere. It died on the order paper when the election was called, the 2011 election. And to my knowledge, I don't think any MP has brought it back. So it was purely a Ruby Dalla bill. And yet, I still get emails from people who are upset about it, but it's long since gone. So it's not an issue that we're dealing with now, or ever, in fact, did have a chance to deal with because she was defeated before she could bring it forward.
So we only have about a minute left. So I have 2 more questions from some of our viewers.
I'll do it quickly. Okay.
So the first is about legalization or decriminalization of marijuana. And a good friend of mine now, just before I came on this show, who's got MS, said, yeah, what about the medical marijuana? He says, it really has made a difference in my life. Mm-hmm. What's your position on that?
Well, my position is the same as the party's position, which is decriminalization. And not legalization in the strict sense that Mr. Trudeau is talking about. And that a few states, for example, are experimenting with now. I think there's 2 issues here. One is that the police chiefs right across Canada are suggesting that decriminalization is a good way to go. Yeah. And so again, that's a baby step, right? Legalization, I think it's prudent for us to just wait and see how things unfold in Oregon and I think it's Utah, I'm not sure. Colorado. Just to see how things progress and the sorts of issues that they have. I think we'll end up there eventually, but I'm not prepared to support that 100%.
One last question, and we're almost out of time, so make it quick. The pipeline, there's been a lot of controversy now about changing the gas pipeline to ship the crude tar sands oil for export. What's your position on that?
Well, I have some issues with it, and the first issue is, and this goes for not just the West-East pipeline that we're talking about, but really all energy projects. I think the policy of polluter pay has to be understood by all these companies. In other words, I don't think taxpayers should be on the hook for anything that happens. The oil industry will say pipelines are safe, no problem. We'll just but we hear about pipeline bursts and leaks into rivers and all the time. So I think the principle of polluter pay is very, very important. That they're on the hook for this, and it doesn't go ahead unless they understand they're on the hook for this. The second thing is in this particular pipeline,
we're just got a couple seconds left.
Many of these pipelines are old, and what I would like to see is brand new pipelines.
Indeed. John, thank you so much for coming on the show. We've only scratched the surface. I hope you'll come back again at some point. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Once again, reminding folks, you can get a hold of us through our Facebook page. On Facebook, just go in, look for Community Conversations. Your thoughts, your feedback, suggestions are all welcome. Thank you very much, and have a safe week.